Be reading from the book of Joshua chapter 1, and then we'll talk about how that relates to our lives. So Joshua chapter 1 says, after the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord said to Joshua, the son of Nun, Moses' assistant, Moses, my servant, is dead. Now therefore arise, go over this Jordan, you and all this people, into the land that I am giving to them, to the people of Israel. Every place that the sole of your foot will tread upon, I have given to you, just as I promised to Moses. And later on in verse 9, it says, have I not commanded you, be strong and courageous, do not be frightened, do not be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. Now I want you to think about a time when you might have been the last hitter of a game. You were the batter and you were the last out. And I want you to think of a time when maybe that happened and the tying run was on base. And I want you to think about how you felt walking up to the plate before that at bat. Maybe you felt nervous, maybe you felt anxious, maybe you felt a little bit scared. It's not a great feeling with that pressure walking up to the plate. Now I want you to think if you've ever made an error that ended a game. Now I've coached a lot of close games and I've seen games end in an error before. I can think of one just from a few years ago. We had to win. This is the last game of the regular season. Had to win to make the playoffs. It's the last inning. We're up by 1. They have runners on second and third and we have 2 outs. I'm looking out into the dugout. Or from the dugout out into the field, and I can only see my 9 players on the field. I can only see 2 or 3 who are not absolutely scared. In fact, the rest of them, if you could look like through their eyes and into their head, you could see they were thinking to themselves, please don't hit it to me, please don't hit it to me, please don't hit it to me. And sure enough, as sports go, ball got hit to one of those guys, made an error, both runs scored, and boom, just like that, our season was over. Now as coaches, our job is to put our players in positions and situations to succeed. And in our lives, God does the same. See, God puts us in position to be successful in accomplishing His will for our life, His plan for our life. But it doesn't just happen. So our guy here in this passage, Joshua, just was elevated to a new position. He's been following as a faithful assistant to Moses since they left Egypt. Now Moses passed away, so Joshua must now lead the people into the land that God has promised them. So you talk about nerves, you talk about pressure, right? This is millions of people and you have to lead them. But this is the place that God has called Joshua to. This is God's plan for Joshua's life. And so God is here encouraging Joshua to be strong and courageous, to have no fear. And God does this by reminding Joshua of the promise He made the people and also reminding him that God will always be with Joshua. Now in baseball, when I put a player in a batter's box or I put them in the field defensively, I cannot do their job for them. They have to be the one to go out and perform. And in the same way, nobody can sub for you in God's plan for your life. Not your coaches, not your parents, not your friends. Only you can do that. God has a specific plan for your life. God has specific people for you to meet and share the gospel with. There will be good days and bad days in God's plan for your life. When you sit there and think, I can't even imagine handling God's plan for my life. I can barely handle schoolwork and practice and parents and all those things. Let me tell you something. The same encouragement that Joshua received from God, that He would always be with him and always take care of him, so he should have no fear, is the same promise that God gives to us. So live your life without fear, knowing that God is always with you, and trust Him fully. Amen? Amen.